Okay, so let's talk about Texas in the progressive era, and in particular the governorship of Governor James E. Paul Ferguson. Now remember that the height of Texas progressivism is really under Governor Thomas Campbell. Campbell eliminates the convict lease system and also makes other reforms that are friendly toward progressive goals. Paul Ferguson is a virtual unknown in 1914 when he runs for governor. He is the president of the Temple State Bank. He's a native of Central Texas. And Ferguson runs this very folksy campaign. He begins referring to himself as Paul, and he courts the rural voters. He pretends to be much more ignorant than he actually is. And he wins the governorship based on this rural populist appeal. Now it turns out that Paul Ferguson had a great many financial misdeeds in his past that begin to come to light once he's elected. The man who succeeds him as the president of the Temple State Bank discovers that Ferguson has exceeded his credit limit. He's taken out mortgages in his friends' names that his friends know nothing about. At the same time, Ferguson takes a very autocratic approach to being governor of Texas. And he picks a fight with the University of Texas, now the University of Texas at Austin. There is only one University of Texas branch, of course, in 1915. And he has a real problem with these professors at the University of Texas because these professors are all for women's suffrage and all for prohibition. And Paul Ferguson is politically against both. He's against women's suffrage and he's against prohibition. And the Texas Brewers are the biggest business in Texas at this time, and they had financed Paul Ferguson's campaign. Well, the Brewers also give Paul Ferguson the money to get out of his financial troubles he's in. And he's investigated by the legislature in 1915, and the legislature finds all these misdeeds, but they tell him just clean up your finances. And so he does. Now, Ferguson had already picked a fight with the University of Texas, not only because of the political views of their professors, but also because socially, the University of Texas crowd had excluded he and Mrs. Ferguson from their circle in Austin. Their children were being called clay eaters in school. You can look that term up. Essentially, it's a term for redneck in the early 20th century. And so Ferguson decides that he demands to fire certain professors from the University of Texas, and if they don't do it, he threatens to eviscerate the entire budget of destroy the university, veto their entire budget. And so at that point, the University of Texas crowd starts working to impeach Ferguson. And Ferguson gets crossways with the Speaker of the Texas House. He wins re-election in 1916, but this whole cloud of controversy is still swirling around him. You have Will Hogg, who is the son of the late Governor James Stephen Hogg, and Will Hogg is the head of the Texas X's, the Texas X Students Association at the University of Texas. And Will Hogg conspires with the Speaker of the House, Fuller, to call up articles of impeachment against Governor Ferguson, and they impeach and remove Ferguson. Ferguson insists on testifying on his own behalf against advice of counsel at least 3 separate times, and Ferguson will not admit under direct questioning where he got the money to pay off his debts. Of course, it's from the Texas Brewers, but because it was hush money from the Texas Brewers, they don't want him to tell. He doesn't tell, and as a result, the legislature impeaches and removes him from office in the summer of 1917. You might want to check out, there's a new book on the issue called Impeached, The Removal of Governor James E. Ferguson of Texas, a Centennial Examination. And of course, I am the author of Chapter 1 in that book, so please, if you have a chance, check that out.